And this week, we want to spend a good chunk of time talking about our predictions for the PlayStation Showcase.
Yeah.
Which is happening on Wednesday afternoon.
We record this episode of the podcast on Monday, so by the time this episode airs, the showcase would have also aired.
Right.
So we'll see how right or wrong we are. Yeah.
So PlayStation put out their blog posts, as they typically do, about this PlayStation Showcase, just letting people know what to expect. So I'll just read that just so we can get started here. The show will run a bit over an hour, focusing on PS5 and PSVR 2 games in development from top studios from around the world. Expect a glimpse at several new creations from PlayStation Studios, as well as spellbinding games from our third-party partners and indie creators.
Spellbinding, that's a cool.
So, just a couple sentences, but there's a lot there.
It feels like it's going to be big.
And this is all from our good friend Sid Schumann over at PlayStation, who we love.
Yes.
So, I agree with you. Like, typically when there's a big event like this, I think when we do predictions, it's like, well, you know, we know like what typically goes into one of these in terms of the amount of announcements. So like, we're not just like listing 20 impossible things.
Right.
In this case, though,
anything is possible.
I think this is an event where you should not limit your expectations.
I think so too. I mean, they did not tell us to manage any sort of expectations there. They seem to almost want to heighten those expectations with that statement that they put out. So that's kind of exciting, actually.
I think they're going to go absolutely buck wild with this event. And I think, like, in terms of, because, you know, this is basically their E3 show.
I was just going to say, no one's going to be at E3 this year.
Right.
So this is their summer announcement. Get it all out there.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, and they really don't do these showcases very often.
Right.
Like, they might do it like once a year. Like, they'll do the State of Play, and those are typically smaller and fine for what they are. But in terms of the big PlayStation Showcase, like, this is the big daddy.
Yeah, this is it. Like, this is where they make the biggest of their big announcements.
Right.
And I think, you know, they've been pretty quiet for most of the year. There hasn't been too many PlayStation, you know, sort of after God of War last year. It's been pretty chill.
And we know Spider-Man 2 is coming. Beyond that, like, there's not a lot of first-party games that we really know about.
That much about, yeah.
So this is a big chance for them to just lay down, you know, well into the future, what they've got going on. So,
and I think they will, too.
I just wrote down, like, because there's always, like, you know, what are we trying to accomplish with an event like this? Here's what I wrote down. Assert the PS5's dominance on the industry for the second half of its life cycle. Yeah. I think that's what they're trying to do here. I think
that's absolutely what they're trying to do. Now that, again, we've been talking about how, you know, PlayStation or PS5 is doing really well now. It's on, like, really solid footing in terms of supply. The demand is still there even after this sort of long stretch of time where the supply was pretty shaky. Like, they are every month, like, catching up to those Switch numbers.
Yeah. They're already in a great place. They did their best working through those early issues, which everybody had to manage with those.
Right.
And it's
come out strong.
It's their industry to lead at least until the Switch 2 comes out. Right. Like, they're going to be on top.
Yeah, they have a huge opportunity to basically be like what everyone's playing this back half of the year. After Tears of the Kingdom has waned, I think everyone's probably going to be switching over to some PS5 games. Yeah. Because they're going to have a lot.
Yeah. So let's get into some of our specific predictions. I have a number sort of ranging from really obvious to more long shots. Where do you want to begin?
Let's do the obvious ones first, because I think I might have some of the obvious ones as well.
Okay.
So we can talk about those.
Great. I think the most obvious, and it's like, this is like not even going to get people excited at all. Like, they do have two big games coming out like within weeks of this. So I do think we'll get like some sort of a reminder or like a final launch trailer for both Street Fighter 6 and Final Fantasy 16.
Yep.
Because it's like, hey, we're talking about the stuff that's off in the distance, but don't forget about these two huge games coming out.
We have your attention.
Like, in a matter of days.
Yeah. I also think potentially there might be a Final Fantasy 16 demo.
Oh,
that gets dropped that same day as the showcase.
That's a good one,
Just to get people, like, again, just hyped for it. I mean, I'm we're playing Final Fantasy 16, guys.
Yeah.
But I'll play a demo. That sounds great, you know? So
yeah, especially they do need to win some people over with the battle system.
Exactly.
So,
like, just get them in while you have their attention, you know?
Yeah.
But I agree with you that they'll probably do some lead in or something like that with some of the games that is like literally right on the horizon.
Yeah. The other thing that I think is like a no-brainer is that they'll have sort of a first gameplay reveal of this new Mortal Kombat game, which just got announced, Mortal Kombat 1. I was actually thinking that this game would be announced there.
Mm-hmm. But that was the one that got announced in that weird investor meeting, right?
Well, they're doing this sort of 1-2 punch where they put out sort of a cinematic trailer last week.
I did see that,
and they haven't released the gameplay. So that's a good, way to follow it up.
Yeah.
That game will be absolutely massive. So yeah, I think that's a pretty safe bet that we'll get that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Next,
Spider-Man. Should we talk about Spider-Man?
Let's
That's
talk
the elephant in the room here.
Right.
That is a game that we know the existence of. I think we're going to get the launch date. That's going to be fall, probably October.
Well, there was a voice actor who may have gone off script a few months ago and
October
said,
20th?
I think they said September.
Oh, September.
Was with sort of the big marketing ramp up starting in August. But yeah, definitely sort of that early holiday.
Yeah, but I think we're going to get an actual date. For
yeah.
this. I also think we're going to get probably a pretty in-depth gameplay segment of some kind, like just showing us all the cool things that we can do in this game and just showing us that, because we haven't really seen that either.
I have one more prediction as it relates to Spider-Man 2, which is I think this is going to be the last first-party game, at least, that gets that sort of dual PS4, PS5 release.
I can see that. I think they're trying to wean it off at
because
this point.
that made a lot of sense for the first couple years when they were
the supply was constrained.
So limited by constraint, and people were still, getting acclimated to the hardware developer-wise. But we've seen with these Spider-Man games, like Insomniac can do such a good job, and the gap is like shockingly low.
It's very low.
So
sometimes you can't really tell.
Eventually, they do want to rip the band-aid and say, "Hey, you're going to need to buy a PS5
to play these games."
But I think this is the last one. They have said, like, they have been asked in interviews, and they're like, we might
when the timing is right. They've said some things like that. Yeah.
So I do see this being sort of the last hurrah for that, because it's like we can sell, like, everybody loves Spider-Man. This is such a mass audience game.
Yeah.
Like, let's cash in on Spider-Man.
And they should.
Right.
They should.
And we know, like, these games are so expensive now, specifically on PS5. Like, they need to do stuff like that to recoup the crazy investment.
The costs. Yeah.
Right.
Their development costs are probably sky high through the roof.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Right.
I have another semi-related Spider-Man prediction, which is not about Spider-Man at all, but about Wolverine.
Good. Yes, I wanted to talk about that too.
Yeah. So I do think we're going to get a teaser for Wolverine.
Okay. Now, what do you mean by a teaser?
Maybe they're going to show us like a little something. Maybe it's not, gameplay. It might not be a full, like, long cinematic trailer, but I think they want to remind us in the same vein of the hype for Spider-Man can lead into hype for Wolverine in that kind of similar genre.
Yeah.
Like, I just feel like we need to see something about that game.
Yeah, and was it the last showcase or the showcase before? But basically, when Wolverine was announced, they do have this kind of issue of like, well, we've got 2 comic book games by the same developer.
Right.
And one's coming out sooner than the other. I think we only get sort of a brief mention of it, like, and that development's still going great.
Oh, I hope we get a little bit more than that.
I mean, it would be nice. Yeah. I'm really interested in that game.
Yeah,
but it's like, don't take your eye off the ball. Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man is the one that's coming out this year. Like, focus on that.
Right.
I can see them like also having the discussion, internally about like converting Spider-Man interest and audience directly into Wolverine. Though it's like, you're going to love Spider-Man. It's going to be awesome if that's coming out this year. But you're going to want to move on immediately to Wolverine. Yeah. So they want to keep you like almost attached to both when they talk about Spider-Man. So
but either way, like not a lot.
Yeah, because that one's not coming.
But also not nothing
for a bit.
I think that would start to get people a little concerned if they said nothing.
I think they have to say something, or else it's a little suspicious.
So there's. This is sort of jumping around, but there's another game that I think fits very well into that category of like, there's 2 games that are similar that we don't want to confuse people with.
Right.
And that is, we talked about Final Fantasy 16, the Final Fantasy 7 Remake Part 2.
That's right, the Part 2. I was really shaky on this
So they've
one.
said this is coming out this winter. Was their last update on this?
Yeah, yeah.
So if I was in charge, I would not say a peep about this game.
I was gonna say the same thing.
But
You're not in charge.
Square Enix gets zany.
Square Enix
They do some zany stuff.
They want to show you 25 farm sims.
They're going down with the ship, investing in these NFTs. They like to zag a lot.
So
I think this is a bad idea, though.
I think it's bad. I left this off my list because in my heart and brain, I'm like, don't say anything to me about this right now.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to talk about this game right now with you. I want to play Final Fantasy 16, and as a consumer or whatever you want to call it. Like that's what I want. I don't want to be, confused or distracted.
Yeah.
By Final Fantasy VII Remake. I don't want to hear about that till later. But I don't know. They get weird. So I did not put that on my list. You think then that they are going to do something about they're going to show something about this game.
Again, I really don't think they should, but I think they will.
Okay, so your prediction is that they will show it.
So the reasons they should not are, again, not everybody's sold on Final Fantasy 16.
Exactly.
And people love that remake. So it's like, why isn't Final Fantasy 16 more like this thing that I love?
Right.
I'm just going to wait for that. Because like the combat system, like why can't it be more like that? Why aren't the characters as cool as Cloud?
Right.
Why isn't his hair as spiky? These are
Where is a giant motorcycle?
Like if you dangle the thing people love in front of the thing that people are iffy on, they'd be like, I kind of like the other thing better.
Right. And it's like a weird comparison to get into people's heads that they're already kind of making.
Right.
And now you're going to reinforce that comparison by putting them, side by side like that.
The other potential scenario is that game's getting delayed, in which case they have nothing to show.
Your problem is solved.
Final Fantasy VII Remake coming out on time? How likely is that?
Probably not, yeah.
A little iffy.
Winter is already pushing it. It might just go into next year.
Winter definitely could go into as late as March next year. The end of the fiscal, if you want to look at it that way. But it's possible it gets delayed into summer or who knows when.
Yeah, and then they might not say anything. But I left this off my list because I was thinking they would not talk about it. Because of Final Fantasy.
Because of reasons, yeah.
Yeah, and that demo, they've already better drop that demo.
Right.
Get people going on that.
Okay.
So
what else you got?
There's 2 more games that are slightly obvious, but I'm just curious as to how they're going to handle it. One is Death Stranding 2.
Yeah.
How much of a sort of time-wise, how much of a focus would that be? They might show. I'm wondering if they're going to show it there.
Well, it's going to be there or Summer Game Fest. How can Kojima choose between his 2 loves, Sony and Jeff Keighley?
Oh, that's going to be hard.
You got to choose.
That's like a Sophie's choice.
Unless he's got 2 different things. Again, it could be a trailer versus gameplay. One leads into the other kind of thing.
That was my question: is who's going to get what and when?
I had to be wishy-washy on this. I'll say we'll get it in one or the other. I don't know which, though.
I'm going to say he's going to put it in here.
I mean,
I'm going to put a stake into the ground.
I think this is the bigger opportunity.
Yeah. I mean,
but Jeff Keighley can be very persuasive.
They have the love. They eat
very
burgers.
Persuasive.
They're buds, man. Yeah. He's very, yes,
yeah.
I agree. But no, I do think we have to see Death Stranding 2 in here. We have to.
Either way, we're seeing it soon.
We're going to see it in here. We're going to see it in here. There's got to be something.
Will I be interested in it? Probably not.
It's going to be weird and zany and creepier than ever with more.
There's going to be
weird
babies sucked down a sewer pipe and whatever
some
else.
Other nonsense that I definitely can't wrap my head around. But hey, it's there. It's going to be there. I think it's going to be there.
Okay.
My other one is Ghosts of Tsushima 2. Announcement. Announced trailer. Time frame.
For some reason, it does. There are things that make sense for this to be there, but I just have a feeling that it's not going to be there.
I want it to be there.
I would love it to be there.
I want to see the series, come back, and I really loved this game, and it's been so long since there was anything really about Ghost of Tsushima. So I would just personally be really excited to see this. If they're going to announce it at any time this year, it's going to be right now. So
I think that maybe my reason is, again, for as jam-packed as I think this is going to be, maybe you can reach a limit where it's maybe it's better to hold this game for 6 months later, a year, depending on whenever it's coming out. We can do this one later. it's just one thing too many. I don't know. I just have a feeling. I think you could be completely right. I just have a feeling. Deep in my bones.
I want this one.
I would love this.
I want this one really bad.
But yeah, and that was the game specifically. I was like, that might be one thing too many. I don't know why. Again, just a feeling.
Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 is the one thing too many. Kick that out and give us an update on Ghost of Tsushima 2, please.
My thing here is I should have been quicker to call this a lock. They have been talking about this Last of Us multiplayer game.
I saw
very openly.
Yeah, very openly.
So, and I think they've been saying we're going to see more of it this year. So that seems like a shoe-in.
That's got to be going. That's got to be going here.
And it makes sense that Last of Us is now this big like transmedia IP juggernaut.
They got to keep that IP real fresh in people's minds.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of interest of hey, let's keep this going.
A brand new audience that want to play this game now, and if there's multiplayer, people are going to want to jump on that.
Yeah, I do wonder how the multiplayer formula will fit with kind of this more single player narrative driven kind of game. I imagine they have some ideas of how to meld those two. Mm-hmm. So I'm not a Last of Us person. I'm mildly interested in whatever this could be and just in seeing what it could turn out to be.
I'm definitely curious. I'm also we've talked about how we're both not really Last of Us people because it's just too depressing for us. But if the multiplayer is a little bit more of a smaller experience, if it's more focused on, a not so narrative thing and just more of gameplay and playing with friends, that could be kind of cool. I'm definitely interested in what's different about it. But there's been so many of my friends who are not into video games that watched Last of Us and they're like, I want to play
That was so big.
I want to play this game now.
Right.
I'm so curious to check this out, but I think a multiplayer experience would be the perfect way to get those people in.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
What
else?
God of War DLC.
Oh.
I have that on my list.
Okay.
As pretty likely. That game ended on such just open-ended, more things are going to happen in this world kind of thing. Mm-hmm. This might be the end of the Norse mythology storyline, so they probably will do one last push with DLC, get all that in, and then probably move on to the next, whatever the next God of War is going to be the next, mythology for it. Yeah. So I could see one last push. Maybe it's a very low-key focused DLC because that was very surprising to us how you play so much as Loki in the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wonder if that is on the table for this year. Yeah.
They have said they're doing a God of War TV show.
Yeah.
I think with Amazon Prime is the partner for that.
Nice.
I don't get the sense that's super far along. Again, knowing they're trying to line these things up, I wonder, I agree there probably is that DLC, and I think it's Atreus focus. I wonder if they say, let's wait and try and line these things up a bit more and make the biggest impact possible.
Yeah. I do wonder about the timing for it. I mean, they obviously have seen so much success from this sort of multimedia approach, like we were just talking about with Last of Us, so I can see them being very formulaic about it and saying yes, this is what works, this is how we get people back that have played the game last year or new people in and have this game aspect of it as well. But I feel like they're sitting on some DLC or we got DLC coming soon.
Yeah, so I think it's perfectly reasonable that it could be there. I wouldn't be shocked if it wasn't, though.
Yeah.
So speaking of these TV shows, remember we talked about the Twisted Metal TV show and how it was so strange that there had not been a Twisted Metal game for so long?
Yeah, you think it's
to support
back?
This? It just continues to make no sense that they would do this without having any aspiration of that being a game. On its own, that's just a failure waiting to happen.
It's a weird franchise,
a Twisted Metal TV show.
Because how popular is Twisted Metal?
I mean, it was so big, but a long time ago it was.
No one remembers that, do they? I feel like
I certainly do.
I mean, you do, but you're one of.
So, I'm wondering if you could get a new Twisted Metal game, and I have a specific developer in mind.
Oh.
Which is Housemarque, which is the team that did Returnal, and they're sort of pretty well equipped to make these sort of more arcadey, actiony types of games.
Sure.
And I do think there's some ways that you could evolve the gameplay for that. It's like maybe it's like you're in the car, but you can also get out of the car and do some stuff out of the car. Like that could be cool.
I think they need to evolve it because it feels a little bit narrow and dated now.
Absolutely.
This is old. Yeah.
But I just can't believe that they're just like, yeah, we're just going to do a Twisted Metal show without having a Twisted Metal game for like 15 years. They're like, I'll be fine. We'll just play the Len song again and again.
Oh, the Len song.
People will love it.
The Len song is very good. I wonder if it's almost like a series reboot.
Yeah.
In a way for them with this with Twisted Metal because maybe there's some sort of weird strategy about not having a game because they want to maybe just reshape what this IP is like in people's brains. I have no idea, but
it could have just been like, yeah, we just need to make some money. Who wants to buy an IP? Twisted Metal, it's cheap.
It's
Here
cheap,
you go.
And we don't care.
We're not going to do anything with it, but you can have it.
You can have it. Yeah, who knows?
But I'm going to put that out there. I think there's enough possibility there, and again, it's just so weird without it.
Yeah. I do think we're going to also get some like more smaller indie-ish kind of games. I feel like
they said right there.
Yeah, they did say. But I do wonder what that's going to be like. There's a few sort of, they have like a few indie darlings as they had in the past. Like the Kina game, and Sifu is another one that people really like. I wonder if there's something along that scope that will get announced. It might just be like a brand new game that we've never heard of, not one in a series. So
TBD cool
indie darling, new indie darling.
Well, that's a pretty bland prediction.
It's a new indie darling. Is it another cat game? It's probably another cat game, you guys. People love cats these
Don't let
days.
the cat get its face eaten off this time.
Maybe there's another cat game. I think we're gonna see some cats. We're gonna see some cats.
Big prediction, cats.
Cats.
Another game that people seem to feel is a lock and seem really hyped for is a remaster of Metal Gear Solid 3.
Yeah.
Looking at sort of the smoke behind this, it does seem like this is really likely to happen. I am much less hyped for this than a lot of people. Don't get me wrong.
But it's an odd number.
I love Metal Gear Solid 3.
Yeah, I was going to say, odd numbered.
I need to know who is working on this. Like a post-Kojima, like for as weird as he is, like you really do feel confident with him at the helm of a Metal Gear of like, this is going to have everything I want in a Metal Gear.
Yeah.
Once he's handed over, even if it's a remake, like you don't have to make a new game. Just working with the original material, I get nervous. I need to know who it is.
Yeah.
So it's like, if it's just some like studio Konami picked off the street, like that could really suck.
The quality could be a little lacking.
Yeah, and I look at like how they've been picking picking studios for these Silent Hill games. Like I just get nervous. But if there's some chance where Sony's like, we will partner with you on this. We will give you one of our premium studios to help you make this. They have that studio that did all those remakes, like the Shadow of the Colossus remake.
That's a good one.
I think they're called Blue Point, something blue.
Yeah.
My apologies, but if it's something like that, now we're talking.
Yeah.
But I just don't know.
The era of remake, though, is very strong right now.
Yes.
Everyone's doing this. Every publisher seems to be like, just cashing in really on these remakes.
Yeah.
They're extremely high quality.
Right.
People are very receptive to remakes these days. So I can see them getting like a little excited about something like this, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not really that much work. I mean, it's less work than developing a game
Starting from scratch,
right? And you have a bit of a guarantee that, people like this game.
And
they're probably going to play it.
Metal Gear fans are starved at this point. It's been a long time.
It's been a really long time. So, yeah.
Okay. Got anything else?
Let's see. I have Astro's Playroom sequel.
Oh, that's a good one.
That one I feel like is definitely coming.
That would be really great. I'm so unclear on like what the state of their Japanese, because I know they shut down a lot. Their like quote Japan studio.
Right.
I know this is a different team, but I'm like,
I
just feel a little uneasy about that team. I think that's a great prediction.
Yeah.
But I just felt a little too uneasy about that to put it on my list.
Yeah.
But that's a good prediction.
I think it's gonna happen. Like I feel like that's something it's almost like a show-off game. Like let's just show off all the cool tech that we have in the PS5 in this DualSense controller. Like this is all the cool stuff that we can do. So it's like if your goal again is to like
be the winning, console or whatever in the rest of this year, especially as Switch is waning a little bit and at the end of its life cycle. Like, this is a good, like, almost like a fun tech demo for you to tell people, like, this hardware is really amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see that coming.
Okay.
Any hardware predictions?
Well, we'll get to that. Oh. I got two more things, and I'll end with what I think about hardware.
Okay.
I've seen some people saying, like, oh, Grand Theft Auto 6, here it comes.
No, that's not coming.
I think definitely not, because Rockstar will unveil it their way when they're ready in some, ridiculous trailer.
Yeah.
I don't see it. I don't see them saying, just drop this into your hour-long showcase with a dozen other games. Like, they
want their time in the sun.
They're nuts. From what I know about them, they're a little nutso.
Wow.
So they are going to do their thing for their game when they want.
And in their way that they want it
to.
Right. I don't think there's any sort of Grand Theft
But I've seen a lot of people saying, like, oh, it's coming out soon. Or like, oh, it's not coming out for years. Like, it would be nice to know a little bit more, but it's
all
like, whatever.
Smoke and mirrors. I don't think anyone knows anything.
Meanwhile, Grand Theft Auto 5 is selling like 10 million copies a day still. So.
I know. So, like, what's the point, right?
No rush, I guess.
Then I'm just making money anyway.
Yeah. The other thing that they have to have, and I'm a little unclear on what exactly, you need something for PlayStation Plus.
Oh, yeah. You really have been... I've really fallen off the PlayStation Plus. Like, what is the benefit of this? Like, I'm not doing anything with my PlayStation Plus.
I think they need something to juice those subscriptions a little bit more. It could be as simple as, hey, if you want to play this Final Fantasy 16 demo, you need to be subscribed to this tier.
Sure.
That's a fun way to do it.
Yeah, I could see that.
It could be a big, new, impactful wave of the downloadable games that you could do. It could be another collection of retro games that they have so many to choose from. Like, pick one of those and do that.
Yeah, they haven't done anything.
They have to have some sort of an update.
It just feels like such a nothing service right now. Like, there's no benefit to it at all.
I continue to be confused about the different tiers.
It's very confusing.
And I'm one of those people who, like, under the right circumstances, I would upgrade. I'm at the base tier right now, but I would upgrade if the right thing was there.
I don't think I renewed my... Because I was at the top tier. And
really?
I was like, this is stupid.
What did you do with it?
Nothing. That's the thing. I have no motivation.
So you just canceled it outright?
Yeah, now I have the base tier.
Oh, you're on the base tier.
Yeah,
okay.
So I downgraded.
You're not out.
I'm not out. I can't be out.
Well, we got to play some Street Fighter soon. You better get to PlayStation
I'm
Plus.
good. Don't worry.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the thing. It's like, I didn't see any motivation for me to keep a top tier subscription because they're not really doing much with that service. Yeah. So, anyways.
So, hardware. We can end with this. Do you have anything else?
I want to talk about hardware.
Okay, we can end with this. I think we get some hardware news.
I think we get some hardware news too. I don't think it's like a PlayStation 5 Pro.
Oh, thank gosh, because that's also what I think it is not going to be.
Yeah, people have been saying that, like, PlayStation 5 Pro. I'm like, no, they just got their, like, ducks in a row to make this current thing, like, work in terms of supply. Like, I don't think they're doing a
But it's
Pro
also
right
like
now.
That would be such a leap to say, like, oh yeah, we've been making these games that work on PS4 and PS5. It's like you actually haven't had a chance to tap into the full power
of the PS5
of the system yet, the base system yet.
Exactly.
So maybe in a year.
Yeah.
Maybe
a little longer than a year
in the future.
Yeah.
Yes, but not today.
Not today.
Do not do that today.
Like cosmetic things.
Slim.
Slim is a good one.
Slim.
Colors. Colors. Give us more colors. Give us more shells. Give us more,
Well, there's going to be some like Spider-Man system.
It's gonna be cosmetic.
But I'm saying there's going to be a Slim, like a whole new version, a whole new iteration.
Okay, Slim could be good.
First of all, that thing's about like.
It's like 14 million pounds.
It's gigantic.
Yeah, I could barely shove it in my console.
Also, they have used these hardware iterations in the past with different generations to sort of kickstart these new phases of what this PlayStation is. I remember with PlayStation 3 that they had such a hard time with the original, and then they did basically a full relaunch that coincided with the release of this Slim.
Yeah.
And I think if you are looking at this as this is us putting our foot on the throat of the industry for the next 3 whatever years.
Yeah.
We are going all out.
Like full throttle.
Like we are not holding back any stops. Yeah. Here's also this new cool hardware that new people are going to want to get.
Yeah. No, I think that would be very aggressive and smart of them to do that.
And that they are an aggressive company. They're not like Nintendo where they're taking like cautious baby steps.
Yeah, they're not.
They go for it.
I admire
that about them.
I was going to say I admire that. Yeah, so I don't think they would shy away from some sort of hardware news. Slim is a great prediction. Anything to just make you just like want one of these.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't have it yet.
Right.
Or like just keeping it feeling like there's more coming for the system. It's still like super relevant. Like there's stuff.
Yeah, because we've also heard they've done some sort of interior guts kind of reshuffling with some of their parts that they're using.
I have heard that, yeah.
So again, like it could just be as simple for them of like, hey, we found a way to make this a lot cheaper.
And yeah,
I don't know. Like, does it come with a price drop? Not necessarily.
I don't think they need.
Not necessarily.
They need to.
Again, they need money.
We
all need money, but they really need.
They like truly need money.
Yeah.
You can see the money like bleeding out of them every day that they need. They truly need money.
Right.
But yeah.
So there we have it.
That's pretty meaty.
Some truly unhinged predictions, out of character, but I think it is warranted this time.
Wolverine PlayStation Slim, let's go! Hype!
Adamantium edition. Here we go.
Oh,
yes.
Hey, that'd
be cool.
I love this. I'm actually really, really excited. Again, this is Monday. I can't wait for Wednesday where we get to watch this like big meaty showcase.
Yeah.
Like there hasn't been a lot of PlayStation news. I'm like super pumped. I haven't turned my PlayStation.
We're doing a live reaction to this. What?
I forgot one thing.
A prediction?
Yeah.
Oh.
Hogwarts Legacy DLC.
Okay.
That's it. That's what I'm gonna put that.
All right, fine. We are doing a reaction to this live.
Yes.
Check it out if you're watching this before. Check it out afterwards. If you're watching it after, just watch it.
Yeah.
So there we go.
PlayStation. PlayStation.
PlayStation.
PlayStation.
As they say it.